Who made God? The theological answer is this: God is eternal, and because he is eternal, he is self-existent. He is dependent upon nothing and nobody for his existence. When I say God is eternal, that means he always was, he is now, and he shall be forever. When I say God is eternal, that means he had no beginning and he will have no ending. But the skeptic objects, saying, "You can't explain the eternity of God by the process of reasoning." And the skeptic is correct. Therefore, says the skeptic, I refuse to believe anything that cannot be explained by the process of reasoning. So I reject your statement, God is eternal. I submit the skeptic's objection is inconsistent. For instance, Mr. Skeptic, do you believe in electricity? Why, of course. Everybody believes in electricity. Why? Because you see its presence demonstrated daily in a dozen convenient ways. The toaster, coffee maker, razor, the radio, television. Basically, you know television is powered by electricity. But how does this electricity get to the television set? You simply plug a cord into a wall socket. How does the electricity get to the wall socket? It is carried by large cables across the city from a power plant and distributed to the home. How does the electricity get to the power plant? It is harnessed by huge generators. How does the electricity get to the generators? The answer? Electricity in its raw form is in the atmosphere. That means electricity in its raw form is everywhere at the same time, and you can't explain that by the process of reasoning. A question about electricity. When did it begin? Now, you may pinpoint a date when it was discovered, but you can't tell me when electricity began, because it had no beginning. When will electricity end? It will have no ending. Now, Mr. Skeptic, you believe in something that is everywhere at the same time, something that had no beginning and has no ending, and you can't explain that by the process of reasoning. Why, then, do you believe in electricity? Is this a belief based upon theory, superstition? No, it is a belief based upon the reasonable fact of its presence. And I submit this is the only formula for finding God. What is it? A religious faith supported by a reasonable fact. Now, reason may tell you about God, but reason cannot take you to God. Reason can only take you as far as the launching pad, and then only by the acceleration of faith can you crash the barrier of eternity and come to God. Furthermore, a religious faith that is not supported by reasonable fact will end up in a theological countdown, resulting in frustration and failure, giving you a distorted concept of God. Only a religious faith supported by reasonable fact will bring you to God. This was the method Jesus employed with Nicodemus. Nicodemus came to Jesus in his probe for God. Bear in mind, Nicodemus was an intellectual. In the parlance of our educational system, he had no less than a master's degree. Jesus startled the intellect of Nicodemus by saying, "Except a man be born again, he cannot enter the kingdom of God." Evidently, Nicodemus regarded this as an insult to his intelligence. This is implied by his sarcastic reply. Nicodemus said, "How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter his mother's womb and be born again?" Being an intellectual, Nicodemus knew better than that. Jesus saw he would have to proceed further with Nicodemus. He said, in effect, "Nicodemus, do you believe in the wind?" Of course, everybody believes in the wind, but have you ever seen the wind? Now, you might see what the wind does, but you have never seen the wind. Furthermore, the wind is everywhere at the same time, whether in the form of oxygen in a sultry jungle, or in a tornado on the plains. Another question about the wind. When did it begin? Why, it had no beginning. When will it end? It will have no ending. Now, Mr. Nicodemus, you believe in something you can't see, something that is everywhere at the same time, something that had no beginning and no ending, and you can't explain that by the process of reasoning. Why, then, do you believe in the wind? Is this a belief based upon superstition, theory, hypothesis, or tradition? No, it is a belief supported by the reasonable fact of its presence. Jesus said, Nicodemus, so is everyone that is born of God. So I say, let us renounce as ridiculous the rantings of the atheist who says there is no God, the agnostic who says God cannot be known, and the apostate professor who says God is dead.